It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. Ha! It's Feedback Friday. It's been a long week. When I went back to look at the videos over Feedback Friday, I was like, it's only been that long. Like, so much has happened. It's just been nuts. But that's partially just because of in real life craziness, like having no power yesterday. We are close enough to the Boston, Maine area that we were not spared the edges of that nor'easter, and I didn't think it was that bad. I heard really heavy rain, I heard wind, and then our power went out, and I went outside and it's like, oh, there's like tree branches down and everything like that. That's where our power went out because a tree fell on a power line. That's what you get for living in nature. But I hope everybody in the U.S. Northeast is okay, that you have enough power back to see this video. And people are like, how are you tweeting during a power outage? When the power goes out, cell phones still work. I don't know why. The cell towers must be powered separately, but yeah, cell phones still. And we have a battery backup on our internet router. So I have limited amount of internet. I get 3 hours of battery on my router during blackouts, because I have to have a landline in my house because cell service is kind of spotty. Certain rooms of my house it works certain days, but that you don't care about that right now. A bit of a recap for the week. If you're joining us on Twitch, thank you. There's been an uptick in new faces lately, maybe because I'm playing Abduction, I don't know, and people want to see it, but it was nice to see the new people. It was nice. The discussions were very, very interesting as well. They get heavy. I shouldn't say heavy, but they get very personal. Like, people share some really personal things, and I'm always really appreciative of that because, like, that means there's trust, and that's really awesome. And people on the Twitch chat said they liked the compassion video that I did on Wednesday, and that did not do well on YouTube's algorithms, as I expected it not to. And I did it anyway, and I'm going to continue to do that because for people it touches, it matters to them, it helps them. And this was the issue I went in with the Momo Mondays and the Mountain Mondays back in the day. They never did very well, but they were very, very useful to the people that watch them, which is why Patreon, you should become a member. Patreon.com/Lana K. There have been new patrons as well. Thank you guys. Welcome. One of the things the patrons get that they got this week was I have a new podcast running through the FU network. It is a preview of FU Video Games, which is going to be a podcasting and eventually video network, maybe some text as well. We'll see. It's going to be a gradual rollout, starting with the podcast and only expanding when it makes sense to do so. But eventually it will be like a whole channel of gaming content. Level with Her is just the preview to sort of get it going. And it's long form conversations with video game developers. Laurie Cole was the first person. It's always hard to get the first person, so Laurie was willing to do it to help promote her Kickstarter, Summer Days at Hero U. So I'm giving her another plug. I'll put a link in the description box because I'm appreciative of that. It's always hard to go first. And so, one hand washes the other kind of thing. I am a backer. I did back. I'm disclosing. So it's not like anyone paid me to do the interview. It's the other way. I gave them money. But the patrons are going to, I offered it to them this week. I think I'll have to check. I was kind of zoned when I wrote this because I had to do a text update on Patreon instead of a video update because no power, couldn't upload. So they get to suggest future guests on the format that we'll then try to approach. And if it's anything like I used to book guests, you have to approach 200 to get tend to say yes, but them's the breaks. So that's happening, some expansion. And I've talked a bit about the compassion video. People found that very helpful. They liked the separation between, altruism, empathy, and compassion. And we had a whole kind of applied conversation about empathy, compassion, the culture war on Twitch, which was pretty cool. I enjoyed that conversation a lot. I like it when people, like, I postulate a theory or I say something I've learned and people apply it. Speaking of which, I am coming very, very close to the first pass on the first boss fight script. And I'm going to have to write at least the first 3, just because there are so many characters, and the only way to make this cost and time effective is to shoot like multiple episodes of the content for characters like Princess Sparkle Muffin and the Social Justice Warrior in one whack, or else it's just like super amount of time doing the correct makeup and the wigs and all that stuff. Social Justice Warrior doesn't take very much to put on, but Princess Sparkle Muffin, that makeup's very specific, and it makes more sense to do it at once. Otherwise, I'm, spending 45 minutes getting ready minimum for 15 minutes of content, and that seems kind of silly. So I also have to get a new Princess Sparkle Muffin wig. That current wig, it's 10 years old, so it's really hung in, but it is dead. It is so bald in the back. You guys don't care about this, but I'm just letting you know it is progressing. And there is so much extra content based on the character backstories. It very much informs the script, but I'm going to have to figure out something to do with the extra content because it's just too good to do nothing with. Maybe comic books or something like that. I don't know. I like comic books. That's another thing we talk about on Twitch a lot is comic stuff. But the Gears of War thing, that one worked out well. The traffic was decent, which doesn't always happen with AAA games post-launch. The comments were good. People really liked that hip-hop versus symphony metaphor, which I was happy with because it was one of those things of how to explain this, and the only way to explain this thing is to compare it to another thing. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't work, but I'm really glad. The one thing that kind of struck me sideways was the people that took issue with my reference to the whole woman in refrigerator trope. Even though I said it's not always bad, sometimes it can work. And I got a basically what about the men references to disposable male syndrome, all that stuff. And that, I admit, that caught me off guard because I never said, I went on at length of an example of a thing where the wife dies and I actually defended it, which shows how sort of emotional these things are. Just a suggestion. I get it. Not everybody else is going to, okay? I don't know what it's like to be a guy and be functioning under, that sort of sentiment that way. I do know what it's like to have generalizations kind of catch me off guard and bother me. So I'm relating to it in that way. But being too reactive means there can't be a discussion. So I'm just making you aware of that. Going after the wrong people doesn't help anything. And it here's the empathy kicking in. It really bothers me that people are still that bothered. Like, I can feel the pain behind the sentiment, and I wish that wasn't so. Now, compassion, going back to Wednesday's video, I'm not going to avoid feeling bad about it, because that would mean retaliation or running away from the issue. I will just say I don't know how to solve it other than doing nuanced approaches to videos like I did, and hopefully people will eventually realize that this isn't that. I think once you see Boss Fight, you'll kind of know this isn't that. But that sort of, but it was interesting. There was sort of this thing where people were like, I'm so glad you say you don't like Kate in Gears of War, because I don't like her too. It was almost like something no guy could admit until a woman admitted it. And that's so, because I remember back in the day where there was more than one woman in a game, like as part of a party. And so you might not like, I remember in Torment, I wasn't big on Fall from Grace. I freaking loved Ana. Now, as I get older, the Fall from Grace character, I don't have the same Sims-like reaction. I hate the Sims. Sims-like reaction to Fall from Grace now. But when I was younger, I was really like, no, she's the girl. She's the type of girl who looked down on me. But I loved Ana. And so you can love Ana because there were 2 characters in the game and you didn't have to like them all. That was the whole point of RPGs. Some characters you like, some characters you don't like. And now there's this idea that you have to like everybody. And I just think that that's so short-sighted. You can't pour all of the female experience into one female character and expect it to work. You just can't. And that's, I'm not going to retread the ground in Gears. But I will be doing more of that. I think that I'm actually thinking, let me know what you think of this. I'll cut this one short. But I'm thinking about with FU Video Games, gonna do a podcast called Versus Mode, spinning off from Lady Bits, but it's a compare and contrast thing, like that Gears of War versus God of War compare and contrast thing. Because I think it's an interesting way of examining how different games use the same tropes or use the same design mechanics or things like that, use certain things in an interesting way, in different ways, because I think that's a much more nuanced take on design and some of these cultural issues that intersect with design, that I think won't raise hackles the same way, because it's not saying a given device is good or bad. It's there are better ways of applying it than others. What do you think? Would this be something you'd listen to? Because I like the audio only, because that means people can listen to the podcast while they're playing a video game. That's when I listen to podcasts or news or stuff like that. It allows me to get some gaming time in, but still kind of inform myself. It's multitasking. But let me know. Let me know if that would be an interesting thing too, because I can't do Level with her all the time. So I'm going to have to do more one-off things. And eventually, once we eventually get a basement shooting space, and I get to do the video game boot camp, I will be getting other people that can come in and work, but I want to get some sponsors first and all that stuff, get some money coming in so we can actually pay people. Yes, this is my master plan. I'm actually going to start doing gaming content involving other people again. God help me. But let me know if you think this is a good idea, if it's something you listen to, if it's something you would listen to. If it's off, I'll think of something else. This is just one of the things that I think, wow, I can do like 3 of them in a week and then like do them in bunches, so I'm not constantly on a treadmill, because that's one of the things I'm finding with boss fight writing, with 5 YouTube videos a week, 4.5-ish. The patrons have been getting sort of short shrift lately because I've been very understanding. But 4 to 5 YouTube videos a week, 2 Twitch streams a week, podcasting, this, that, and a partridge in a pear tree. The writing, because I'm one of those people, when I write, I need to sit and I need to do it. I can't be multitasking, because then my brain goes squirrel in a million different ways. Hello, Scouty. Do you want to come say hi to people? Come say hi. Come say hi. We'll end with Scout. Hello, Scout. Hi. Is Bobby still hunting the mouse? Yes, he is. All right. Say bye, Scouty. Bye. Oh, the camera went out of focus. Okay. Patreon. You should become a member. Patreon.com/Leanna K. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.